How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Shuffle Squad. Zach Lesage here. We're going to be going over another segment of the best decks. This being the best decks heading into Hartford Regionals, Malmo Regionals, and Buenos Aires Regionals, along with League Cups, League Challenges, online events, and wherever else you're playing Pokemon. These decks are it right now. And I've personally chose these decks. I've curated a list of decks that I've either worked on with myself, my friends, TSS members, online major events, stuff like that. So hopefully we got it correct here. Now, I do want to let everyone know that in the comments below, there's going to be a list that has all the decks in there that you can copy and paste right into PTCG Live. If you need codes, we are proudly sponsored by PTC Geostore. Check out the link in the description. If you need to get the cards in real life, go to Atlas Collectibles. Again, check the link in the description. And if you want to sleeve up your deck in anything, Ultimate Guard has the best product accessories, and I'm not just saying that with a bias. Even though I'm sponsored, I actually think they're fantastic. So that being said, I want to jump into the number 10 deck right now. For each deck, I will be explaining a little bit of the strategy, why it's positioned the way it is, and as much other information as I can. We'll keep it we'll keep it brisk today. So let's jump into it. Let's get it. See y'all in Hartford. Hopping into our number 10 pick is Hisuian Goodra V-Star. Now, this is a deck that has seen success, and I think it can still continue to see success, but I'm not entirely sure where it's placed in this metagame. In a world where Gardevoir is seeing a little bit of a decline, maybe this Goodra will be met with more Gardevoir, coincidentally, as they might face at a similar record at regionals. At the same time, I honestly can't tell, but there has to be a starting point somewhere, and that's where Goodra is. Basic Lost Zone box engine, doing Comfey and Colress to get cards into the Lost Zone, attacking with Cram, building up for Mirage Gate, and eventually just tanking with Goodra V-Star. I think there's too many escape rope decks in format and Pokemon that can deal massive amount of damage, and with the resurgence of some other decks, without me spoiling the list, I think this deck is kind of down here for a reason. Let me know, do you agree, disagree with any of my choices in the metagame, and we can kind of go from there. But right now, I think that this is just not well enough positioned for me to put it much higher. I mean, it could be anywhere between like 10 to 6, because that's how the metagame is going to go. But for right now, I have it like this. And yeah, let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, be sure to give this video a like too. It does help signal boost it to YouTube for the algorithm. So help out your boy. All right, let's jump into our number 9 pick. Here we have Gardevoir, and I mean, Gardevoir, it's kind of had a bumpy road. It started off as coming second place at EUIC, and it got absolutely gobbled alive in Portland is the way that I want to look at it. I saw Gardevoirs all around, losing the Lost Zone box. Decks are trying to beat Gardevoir because Alex himself said that the Arc Vulpix deck is kind of dead. A lot of community agreed with that, and saw it as like he made a really strong metagame call. Sure, that deck might have a place in the metagame too, but Gardevoir was the defined strong deck toward bringing this new deck out there. It's just not there right now. Again, too many poor matchups in the metagame, but I really do like this list by Alex Geisler that they played at Portland. Day 2, I actually hit them day 2, but I do like the little things like the Champions Festivals, and there's a lot of little technical cards. I mean, you can always replace Champions Festival with like a Temple of Sinnoh if you don't want to drop the $500, but right now I think this deck's it's well positioned in the metagame as long as you do not hit Lost Zone box, and that's why it's number 9. There's no way to put it. Like, you can't avoid Lost Zone box, but if you don't hit Lost Zone box, you'll probably have a really good day. There's also the Gardevoir Mewtwo version of this build, and I do want to put that out there where that might be a good call. I just decided to go with the base version because I feel like that version's overall stronger without a metagame present. That being said, this deck's all about discarding energies, accelerating them with Gardevoir EX, and swinging hard with Gardevoir and Zacian V. And other tech attackers, but overall, Gardevoir is a sweet deck. Give it a try, but again, really keep in mind the metagame. Swinging at number 8 is going to be Mew VMAX. Now, Mew VMAX is, again, is similar to a lot of the decks at the bottom. They're not necessarily well positioned in the metagame. If we look towards most of the decks at the top, and even some of the decks that we have at the bottom, they all have strong Mew VMAX matchups. Drapion V is being included in a lot of decks, Galarian Moltres, Umbreon VMAX, no spoilers, is seeing a little bit of a resurgence. So maybe we'll see some of those in some later on lists. But Mew VMAX is all about attaching its energy, hitting your opponent with the Path Judge, drawing cards with Genesect, getting out of your own path to draw cards with Genesect, stuff like that. Really technical list based off of Pablo Mesa's run at EUIC. I don't really see too much change when it comes to this deck. Maybe the Fusion Strike build could be better against Lost Zone Box. I think at that point, there's probably just a better deck that you could be running. And that's what I'm always going to say. Like, run whatever deck you want, whether you're playing competitively or non-competitively. You probably know more about your deck than I could, than anyone else could. But don't be blind to the metagame if you're trying to see competitive success. So right now, I think Mew is, again, similar to Gardevoir. If it was outside of a metagame, Mew's sick. Mew is fantastic. I think in the metagame right now, Mew's a little bit hurts, but Mew does have the ability to judge path your opponent into anything. It wins games. It steals games for sure. What's going to be our next pick? Find out in a second. Hopping in at number 7 is going to be Arctina. Now, Arctina just won Portland Regionals. How's this deck getting so low? I don't want to be like it's a little bit of a fluke, but we did see how well Squavit was able to draw out of these poor situations. Now, that's not because Squavit's the main draw engine. I feel like there was a little bit of luck on the Squavit player's side. So I think while this deck is well positioned, a lot of players have seen how this deck operates. They do have counters towards it. You can see with the path already, we've already, Mew's already hit lower, Gardevoir's already hit lower, so there's a lot of matchups that you're just not seeing success against. Yeah, this deck can do okay against Lost Zone Box, and sure, Charon's Care is annoying to deal with, but I also think a lot of these builds have some strong tech cards against this deck, and they are well suited to beat them. The goal of this deck is to accelerate energies with Arceus V-Star, attack with Arceus V-Star and Tina hitting 280, with Choice Belt and Cleansing Gloves. You have opportunities to do a little bit more. Overall, pretty solid deck for sure. I just would not... I think that there's better arc builds. I think there's just better decks in the metagame. When it comes to looking at a top 10 list, and we have card decks that are like 7, I know I wouldn't necessarily pick the 7th deck for no reason. If this is your comfort pick, that's a good reason. If you want to cup with this, that's a good reason. If you expect it to do well in your metagame, that's a good reason. I just wouldn't randomly pick the 7th base deck, but I would test against all these decks and prepare them both online and in real life. What's going to be our next pick? We'll find out. Jumping into our number 6 pick is Lost Zone RadZard. Now, this is the deck that I played to Portland. I put it as number 1 last week, and I have to kind of put my money where my mouth is. I did not necessarily see the success that I wanted with this deck, even though that I top 8'd a cup and I made day 2 at Portland, coming around 50th place or so. This deck just is, like, it's very good in the metagame because it can hold its own, but it's not very good against a lot of decks. Like, you could outplay some opponents and that's where you feel like you're gonna winning, but it's not like it's like strong in any direction. It just exists. Slightly updated build with Choice Belt and stuff like that, because I think it's strong in the metagame. I think that this list is basically where I want to be with this deck. I just think there's other better Lost Zone variants than it. Goal is Lost Zone comp phase and getting cards into 4 and 10, because there is no Mirage Gate in this deck. So that way we could attack with Cramorant and Sableye. That's why we're putting things in Lost Zone. We could attack with Radiant Charizard later on in the game and try to take some big knockouts going Clara, Clara, Clara. So if we go Radiant Charizard with a few remaining prize cards, we could really impress our opponents with our damage output. That's why this deck's strong. Definitely not a bad choice, but again, it's falling into a little bit more of a middle-of-the-road choice. Probably great for a day 2, probably not great to win the tournament. Coming in hot at number 5, shooting way up the list from not being on the list last week, is Palkia V-Star. Inspired by Makani Tran's list that I saw on their League Cup Twitter post, Gardevoir Palkia seems oddly well positioned in this metagame, and I guarantee you a lot of players do not know what a 60 card deck list of this deck looks like, at least until now, and that's why you're watching the video. You're in the greatest place to stay tuned with the metagame, and I'm going to tell you what my real lists are. Like, this is a tried and true tested deck. All of these are tried and true tested decks, and if I didn't create them, someone from the Shuffle Squad did, or they did well at a top tournament, whatever. Good decks across the board. This deck has answers against Lost Zone Box through Empoleon, and you could also I mean, I at one point had Canceling Cologne in this deck. I think that's something that you might be adding back in there, but you could go Radiant Greninja, Empoleon, knock out their 2 prizes with Origin Form Palkia V-Star. There's a lot of cool things. Mew matchup for Drapion, you just hit a lot of decks for a lot of opportunities. So I think this deck's cool. This deck is underexplored. Underexplored does not necessarily mean good or bad, but it's one of those things where I think this deck could see some success at Portland. So maybe check this one out if you haven't got a chance to already. Maybe I'll cover a deck profile video of it next week or something like that. We'll see how that ends up going. But overall, sick deck, and I think this one is probably going to see a little bit more play going forward. Another deck shooting up the list is at number 4, Lugia V-Star. This is Regan's list from Portland. I think that his list was great when it came down to it, being able to deal with the issues of random Duraludons with a single strike Urshifu VMAX, dealing with random mirrors with single strike Urshifu VMAX. I kind of feel like we have a complete build of this deck, and I don't know if I could have done it better myself. That's just why I'm featuring their list. The goal of this deck is to kind of build up your Archeops and your discard pile, power them back up with Lugia V-Star, make sure that you're able to accelerate energies to your various Pokemon, mostly single strike attackers. This deck has damage output going well. It has favorable matchup against Lost Zone Box. Gardevoir is going a little bit down. So basically your bad matchups going down, your good matchups going up. That just means that Lugia should be more successful. We already saw a little bit of that at the Bogota special event. I'm sure we're going to see a little bit of that going forward. Lugia is really good. It's just sometimes you hit bad matchups, or sometimes you get a little bit unlucky. If you're able to kind of get past that, this deck is sick. Spiking a high at number 3 is Arc V-Star with Dura and Umbreon. So heavily based off of Nathan Strathford's top 8 list at Portland. I saw that and I was like, hey, you want to know what this deck's kind of weird? Thought about the matchup spread and I'm like, you want to know what, this deck's actually kind of broken. I changed some things around about the list, played it to a cup and came second at a pretty large cup. Got some great prizing too, shut it to 401 games. The goal of this deck is really to accelerate energies to either Umbreon or Duraludon VMAX. Duraludon VMAX is going to allow you to get through anything, but it's also a powerhouse tank at 220. Since it's single strike Pokemon, you could slap on single strike energy, choice belts, and you could also use your Karen's Conviction to knock out those opposing Arctina. So you pretty much beat all the other Arc decks. This deck with Volo has a very strong Lost Zone matchup. It has a pretty strong Mew matchup with Umbreon VMAX, and you could bring up Gardevoir EX and knock them out as soon as they get them with Umbreon VMAX. You just seem to have answers against most of the metagame. And I think that as long as you set up, this deck just seems very favored against most. The only games I lost were the games that were like pretty downright unplayable. That's going to sometimes be happening with Arc decks. They can become an Arc pile of cards. So I think this is a deck to seriously consider. Probably my top consideration right now for Portland, but I can't be biased towards everything. What's going to be our number 2 pick? We'll find out in a second. Splashing in at number 2 is Lost Zone Kyogre with Moltres. Now, we've seen kind of these decks for a while. Nick Moffitt doing well at EUIC, Alex Szymanski doing well at Portland. This deck is like no other Lost Zone box deck because it does not play Battle VIP Pass, but that's because you could kind of have a slower beginning of the game and come back heavy with the Moltres, the Kyogre package, Radiant Greninja drawing multiple prize cards. So as the game progresses, this deck becomes better each and every turn, and they could draw multiple prize cards, really overwhelming any opponent. Beyond that, you start the game off by using the Lost Zone package to get stuff into the Lost Zone. You have Colress's Experiments to get more things in. You're activating either Cramorant, Mirage Gate, or Sableye. So a lot of cool things going on there. I think this build is great. We might see some more of the Lost Zone with Kyogre builds. Turbo Lost Zone, I should say, that Grant played at Portland as well. I think those two decks kind of take a spot for number 2. Really just powerful, dynamic Lost Zone build decks that are hard to play. So where does that leave us with number 1? Put your best guesses in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video as well and share with your friends. Let's get it. Here we are, the number 1 pick, Turbo Lost Zone box. This is the build that Andrew Hedrick Poke Hawkeye used to win the Bogota special event, based off of some of the lists that Calvin, Connor, and Andrew have been playing at events. This build's very similar to the one that we last saw, kind of, but in the same way, it's very different because you have Forest Seal Stones, Sky Seal Stones, so we have abilities to draw, search whatever we want, or draw extra prize cards depending on the matchup. We have Dragonite V, which is a very powerful attacker, Drapion against Mew, and Raikou against decks that are weak to it. So Raikou is going to be great against Palkia V-Star and Lugia V-Star, so a lot of really cool things here. We can kind of blaze through our deck, grab whatever we need, and use that Lost Zone Box engine again for Sableye and Cramorant and other things going on there. I think this is a pretty hot build. Might be off by a single card here or there, but overall I think this deck is very, very good. So by all means, give this one a try. I think that this is definitely going to be one of the most represented versions of Lost Zone Box. So if you're not playing this, make sure that you know how to beat it. And if you're not beating this, consider the deck that you're playing out. Do you think this deck should be number one? I'm not sure. I think it's pretty great. But we'll have to see how Hartford, Malmo, Buenos Aires, League Cups, challenges, online events, all that good stuff goes out. Well, that's what we got going on today. Hopefully you enjoyed looking at these top 10 best decks. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Let me know in the comments below. Really would appreciate some kind of feedback. If you like these videos, just say hey. If you like these videos, tell a friend, share, subscribe, you know, all that good stuff. We appreciate all of it. Like I said, most of the Shuffle Squad will be at Hartford Regionals, and we hope to see you all there soon. By all means, feel free to come to say hi. I'll catch up with all y'all later. Stay tuned. I think this is going to go up before we have our Yell Horn podcast. If you haven't checked that out already, it's a podcast between myself and PJ with 26, so check that out on the channel as well. All right, peace out. Have a great day.
The Shuffle Squad is proudly sponsored by Ultimate Guard. Ultimate Guard provides premium protection for your cards. If you need anything from sleeves to deck boxes, then Ultimate Guard has you covered. If you're a player or just a collector, you know that your cards will be protected. Check out their top-of-the-line katana sleeves. These are the best sleeves on the market with a clear window for visibility and provide a perfect shuffle. If you're not a fan of clear windowed sleeves, then Cortexes are for you. These matted sleeves are like their katanas, but at a lower price. Their shuffle is just as good and the protection is superb. So, what are you waiting for? Help support the team by checking out the affiliate link below and ordering some fresh Ultimate Guard products today to get you shuffling.
The Shuffle Squad is proudly sponsored by Atlas Collectibles, the best place to buy any trading card game product online. Visit atlastcg.com and at the checkout screen make sure to use code TSS12 to save an unbeatable 12% off your entire order. Atlas Collectibles will ship your product anywhere in the world, so make sure you're taking advantage of the 12% savings with TSS12. And if Pokemon is not your thing, don't worry. Go to atlastcg.com and see all the other amazing trading card game products they have there to offer.
The Shuffle Squad is partnered with PTCGO Store to provide our community with the best access to Pokemon TCG codes. They have codes available 24/7, instant email delivery, and you can save 5% off by using code TSS5. If you're a YouTube member or Patreon supporter, you'll have access to a special code that gets you 10% off. So what are you waiting for? Use code TSS5 today and save 5% on your next order of codes on any codes available at ptcgostore.com.
Are you trying to be the best like no one ever was? Now is your time. Head on over to Metafy.gg and search out all our amazing Pokemon TCG coaches where you can book all sorts of training plans ranging from deck help to full season sessions with your favorite coach. What a great way to up your game. Check out Metafy.gg in the description below and take your game to the next level. Challenge yourself against trainers from around the world to compete for the biggest online prizing yet.
Are you ready for an unbelievable tournament unlike anything else you've ever seen before? The Shuffle Squad is proud to announce our newest tournament series, the Late Night Event, with an amazing grand prize that's bound to have you excited.
Players can compete via play.limitless.tcg.com's online tournament platform every Tuesday to get a chance to earn weekly prizes. And every week, your placement in the tournament is tallied by points based on your best finishes to earn your rank for the Late Night Invitational event.
The series will be conducted starting February 7th of 2023 and carry all the way through to the Invitational on July 9th of 2023, where the top players will be rewarded the grand prizing.
And the grand prize is a signed jersey and photo op with the entire Shuffle Squad, as well as a fully paid trip to the Pokemon World Championships in Yokohama, Japan. This includes hotel and airfare, whether you're a player or a spectator.
Don't forget to check out all the live coverage on our YouTube and Twitch channel of the top cuts of these events for every week. And subscribe so you can get notified where to watch the Late Night Events Invitational brought to you by the Shuffle Squad. Now get out there and start winning. We'll see you in Japan.